Could the Miami Heat be interested in a Zach LaVine trade? I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports, and we've talked about LaVine in the past for a potential trade with the Miami Heat, but I wanted to come back and revisit it. The main reason why I wanted to revisit this is, well, because LaVine was seen working out with Jaime Jaquez Jr. over this weekend. The two NBA players were working out with some young college players as well as some of the top high schoolers being filmed, and it was shown in at least some of the footage on NBA socials, and it made me think, it was like, could we actually see a trade to get these two players to be teammates, and if it would benefit Miami or if they should just leave it be and kind of roll with the roster they have. But before we jump into today's show, make sure you are sharing today's video. It helps us out a ton here, and honestly, it helps us grow. And also, we're trying to inform the most Heat fans as possible, and heck, if you even want to share this video to some Bulls fans go ahead and do that, because I'm sure they'd be interested in seeing if it would make sense for LaVine to be traded to the Miami Heat. So help us out and trade or and share today's video. All right, let's get into the potential trade now and if it makes sense for Miami, if they should do it, what it would cost. We have our Bulls host Patrick Siepman's trade idea he cooked up that we had to talk about. By the way, also shout out to Monty2K for commenting on his video that he did on this subject yesterday about a LaVine trade, saying that I had to talk about it. Well, Monty, you inspired today's video. I'll say this, though, on Zach LaVine real quick. At least as things are currently sitting, he is currently a negative trade asset. He has been shopped around the league to Sacramento, to other teams, and nobody's really went on and tried to bite on that bait that Chicago's front office is throwing out there. It's unfortunate because Zach LaVine was one of my favorite players in the league 2 or 3 years ago, but due to his contract and due to his injury history, he's kind of gone a little bit downhill. That contract is an absolute brutal one, if we're going to be honest. He's under contract for the next 3 seasons and then has a player option in 26-27, has a 15% trade bonus as well, and you see the numbers on screen, 43, 46, basically 49 million. This is one of the most expensive contracts in the NBA, and he's someone who has battled injuries throughout his career. Last year with the foot injury, he's torn his ACL in the past when he was playing in Minnesota, but he is still one of the best scorers in the league when healthy. Yes, he did struggle mightily before he ended his season with that injury last year, but he is someone who's consistently averaged 24, 25 points a game on pretty solid efficiency while being the lead guy in Chicago. And I don't think he could be a number one option on a championship caliber team, but when we're talking about LaVine's potential fit in Miami, he would actually be the third best player and third option. And if that's the case, well, maybe there's a way for it to work in Miami, because when you have two-way players like Jimmy and Bam who have had sustained success in the NBA as a duo already, you spice up that roster with adding a 25-point-per-game athletic scorer in Zach LaVine who could score on all 3 levels, and then maybe now we're talking about a different ceiling for this Heat roster. And that's kind of where I want to look at this, right? When Zach LaVine is healthy, and I know it's kind of a big if, and it's kind of the same story that we've had with this Heat roster over the past 3 seasons, is that on paper they're really good when healthy, but they never all are healthy. And that's the same thing with Zach LaVine. When he is on the court, not having to deal with foot injuries, knee injuries, he is one of the top scorers in the association at all 3 levels. He gets to the rim, he can hit the mid-range, he's one of the more efficient three-point shooters as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode, because his career numbers from beyond the arc are just downright terrific. And it's intriguing me at least a little bit, and if the Heat could make a trade for LaVine. The contract stuff is a little bit sketchy, and it might turn off Pat Riley if we're going to be honest, but a pure basketball fit, it makes a lot of sense to try to get Zach LaVine in a Heat uniform. So be honest with me, folks. Would you entertain a Zach LaVine trade? We're going to talk more in depth about it, what it would cost. But after seeing his contract, stats over the last 4 seasons, would you even consider dealing with the Chicago Bulls for LaVine? Type Y for yes or type N for no. If it was up to me and if I was the GM of this team, I would be considering it, folks. And I understand that Pat Riley might not want to because of the injury history and that really, really big contract, especially with you having to make a decision on Jimmy Butler and a potential extension with him and not being able to pay 3 Supermax deals in today's CBA. But here is the trade, and I think this is something that Heat fans might really get interested by. This is what Patrick Siepman of the Bulls Report here at Chat Sports cooked up for a trade. The Bulls get Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. The Heat get Zach LaVine, a first-round pick from the Portland Trail Blazers that Chicago currently owns, and then 2 second-round picks. So you get 3 draft picks and Zach LaVine for Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. And to me, first glance, I think this is really good value. Sure, you might say Tyler Herro is a better asset than Zach LaVine right now, and I'm not going to try to deny that because he's much younger. He's a 20-point-per-game scorer, and he's under contract for only $30 million rather than $45 and $48 million. But getting 3 draft picks to kind of help boost your draft profile for the future and shed a couple big contracts, you're actually saving money in this deal. Zach LaVine, right, at least this season is 43. Duncan and Herro combined for 48, so you're saving $5 million. The value on this deal makes a ton of sense, and we're going to talk more about it coming up in just a second. But we are sponsored by Game Time, the #1 ticketing app in the market, and I got to get you guys hooked up because it's the only ticket app that I use when I'm going to venues, whether it be a sporting event, a concert, a comedy show. I use Game Time, and you can save up to 60% when you use Game Time because they have the last-minute tickets for the best price guaranteed. They also have deals, whether it be flash deals, zone deals, it doesn't even matter. If you choose to pick some seats at the last minute, you can get exclusive in-app deals. All-in pricing as well, so you're never going to get bamboozled at checkout. You see exactly how much your ticket will cost you when you're viewing, whether it be in a list form, a bowl form like you see on screen right now. It doesn't matter. You will know how much you're actually paying before you go to checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, whether you're going to a Dolphins game if you're in Miami, a Marlins game, a comedy show. Doesn't matter. Use Game Time, and when you download the Game Time app, create an account and use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's continue the conversation on Zach LaVine now, and I wanted to showcase how efficient of a scorer he actually is from all parts of the field. LaVine's career shot chart is very, very good, man. We always talk about it. The darker the blue, the better, and there is a lot of dark blue on his career shot chart. You see the amount of shots he takes from beyond the arc. It really is terrific to see how he can get to the rim, get to the mid-range just past the free throw line, but also score from beyond the arc, right? He's really good from the corners, really good from the top of the key and the elbow. He is extremely solid at being able to score at all 3 levels. And when you look at his career three-point shooting, it is really, really good. Like, from the corners, he is one of the better three-point shooters in the league, right? In his career, 44%, 48.6% from the 2 corners, and you see there that it's 6% and 10% better respectively than league average since he's been in the league. And he's also an above-average shooter from the wings and the top of the key, being better by 3% from the right wing, 1% better from both top of the key and left wing, where he does a lot of his work. And then you see at the bottom of your screen, he's also just slightly above average in finishing at the rim in the restricted area with a 59.1% shooting percentage, with a league average being 57.9%. So everything to me just points to how good he is at putting the ball in the basket. And we know that's something that Miami has struggled with. I'm not coming out here to ask and try to tell you that Zach LaVine's going to be some lockdown defender. That's not the case whatsoever. But he's certainly at least on par, or at least a little bit better than Tyler Herro defensively. But when LaVine is healthy, he provides that scoring and athleticism from the perimeter that Miami has desperately needed over the past 2 or 3 years. Like Herro, we've wanted him to take that jump in terms of getting isolation buckets and helping facilitate, put pressure on the rim. He's been unable to do that, but if LaVine stays healthy, plays 60, 65 games, he is definitely going to do that. And we make a big deal of Zach LaVine's health. Sure, that is absolutely something we do need to talk about, but it's not like Tyler Herro has been the most healthy player over his career, and that's one of the biggest knocks on him as well. So to me, the injury thing isn't even that big of a concern. The only concern I would have with swapping in LaVine out Tyler Herro is that you are paying LaVine about $15 million more per year, and is he that much of an upgrade over Tyler Herro? that remains to be seen. So let's revisit the trade here. Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson going to Chicago. The Heat get Zach LaVine, a first-round pick from Portland in 2025, which is protected lottery this season, 26 and 27, and then a second-round pick in 2028. So it's kind of phantom first-round pick, but if Portland ends up having a good year in the next 3 seasons and isn't a lottery team, well, then Miami would technically get that pick if they made this trade, and then 2 second-round picks as well. Let me know, would you do this trade? Type A for accept or type D for decline. We went over it a couple times now. Simple. I'm going to give you my answer coming up after this YouTube ad break, but let me know if you would do this trade. I am going to do this trade for Zach LaVine if this was on the table and the Bulls would be willing to do it, and Miami is okay doing it. LaVine is an upgrade over Herro if healthy. He's a better scorer. He's more athletic. He's on par with terms of defense. You get 3 draft picks, even if you don't ever get that first-round pick conveyed from Portland. It still is another first-round pick in your arsenal that you could trade in a future deal. Also, getting 2 second-round picks provides you more flexibility in a sign-in trade or just having more picks in your own right? You also free up a roster spot and get about $5 million. So what would you be able to do with that $5 million? You'd be able to sign a veteran player, whether it be a Dennis Smith Jr., who is still out there in free agency, whether it be upgrading Kashad Johnson from a 2-way deal to a standard contract. Like, it just gives you a roster spot to use, which you could now stay under the second apron because you are getting $5 million back this season, and you get 3 draft picks as well as a player to upgrade. And a lot of people might say here, well, I'd rather have Duncan Robinson and Tyler Herro over Zach LaVine and whatever veteran contract guy you would sign in free agency. I'm fine rolling with Alec Burks if Duncan Robinson ended up leaving this team, because I trust Alec Burks. I do. We've talked about him in depth a little bit here on the channel, but not nearly as much as we probably should. Burks, who signed, the only exterior free agent Miami signed this free agency, is someone who shot 40% or better from 3 in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Averaged 10 or more points per game over the last 4 seasons as well. Like, he is a really good shooter off the bench who can score in bunches as well. And to me, if you're playing him in the same exact role that Duncan Robinson is playing in, I think he could provide you a similar output or really better productivity as well, because Burks is someone who's done it for a really long time in this league. Sure, he can get cold, but he is also a much better attacker at the rim as well. Doesn't do it often, but is a better finisher around the painted area than Duncan Robinson is. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you are subscribed because we're talking everything Miami Heat here at the channel, daily content. And if you want to be up to date on everything surrounding the Miami Heat, we are the channel for you. Let's get to 14K subscribers ASAP. We're under 700 away from that mark. Do it for Tyler Herro. Might not be on the team in 2 months, might be. But either way, like always, folks, we'll see you with a video tomorrow. Go Heat.